team, and LeBron welcomed it because this team now fits what LeBron and AD do best. So credit to them, and you've seen them take off the #1 defense in the NBA during that particular time, and the offense flows better. Meanwhile, for Denver, they've been as steady as they go, as you mentioned. And the one thing where they've gotten better as the year has gone on, Michael Malone told me about their defense. Since mid-December, where they were 23rd in the NBA in defense, they got into the top 10 to finish the season. This team is not the team you expected earlier this season, where they were having struggles on defense.
Yeah, when they say throw out the records from the regular season, they mean it here. They split 4 times in the regular year, but they last met January 9th. That was 127 days ago. Ex-Laker Russell Westbrook was LA's lead scorer that day, and their top rebounder was Thomas Bryant, now a member of the Nuggets. We're getting set for Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. Lakers and Nuggets from Denver. Tip-off in just a moment. First, back to Kevin Winter in the studio.
Kesty, PJ, George, that is our hot ticket brought to you by Vivid Seats, where you earn rewards with every purchase. Vivid Seats rewards is your ticket to more tickets. Vivid Seats, life happens live. Tip-off from Ball Arena, 40 minutes from now.
Schroeder to James into the lane. Puts it up and in. Steve Kerr calls for time.
I feel pretty good about my game. Help our team, make winning plays, and I was able to make a few.
What a resurrection this season. The Lakers opened 2-10. They were 8 games under 500. They retooled at the trade deadline, and they're on to the Western Conference Finals.
And for LeBron James, it is his 12th conference finals appearance with more on the Lakers short time ago. Kesty, PJ, and George with Laker head coach Darvin Ham.
Kevin, thank you very much with the cleanly shaven Darvin Ham of the Los Angeles Lakers. I know it's been a whirlwind. If I give you a few minutes just to take stock quickly before you get into the second round with the crazy season and the rebuilt roster and making it to the conference finals, what's the first thing you think of?
Man, just the consistent work ethic of our guys, our coaches, everyone in the building, man, just coming in every day trying to be better. And, not really, belaboring what we had gone through earlier in the season or getting ahead of ourselves with things that were coming way down the road. Just staying in the moment each and every day, whether it was a game day or a non-game day, coming in, looking at film, getting on the court, making sure each guy has a tailor-made schedule to what they need to do and what they need to work on to get better and be able to help us. And so I just think the daily grind of it all, just the daily process.
What's going to be the keys in defending Jokic and Jamal in particular?
You can't be disappointed. You can't get discouraged. You constantly have to have a next play mentality. You got to do your work early. You got to give multiple efforts on both sides of the ball. They're such a well-coached, well-balanced team. I know Joker and Jamal, they get a lot of the headlines, but this is a really good team, a well-put-together team with a bunch of guys that can hurt you in different ways. So just being able to play a full team game and make sure we're checking off our transition defense, make sure we're alert and aware and pick and roll coverages whenever Joker tries to ISO, being able to be in a position to give whoever guarding them, starting with AD, the support that they need, because no one person is going to stop anybody. Like, your team has to be alert and aware of what we need to do as a unit to come up with stops and hold them to one possession.
That gentleman on the team that's probably closest in age to you, you've seen him from so many different angles, on the floor, opposite bench, now with the bench, with them twice. Does he ever cease to amaze you how well LeBron played in that last series and what he's still capable of doing from day to day?
Nah, man. If you're around him every day, coach, and you see how he prepares, starting with his body, well, even before that, his nutrition, his sleeping habits, then the way he preps his body for the work, and then his recovery after the work. And now that we have pieces around him where he doesn't have to dictate each and every possession on both sides of the ball, he can play off the ball more. He can be in the help position more. He doesn't have to guard the #1 perimeter threat or post threat on the opposite team anymore. So by the time it gets to the winning moments of the game, late third, fourth quarter, overtime, he has a lot of reserves in that gas tank where he can come in and now step up and be the superhero that we all know him to be. So it's been great, man. It's just being around him. And again, I tell all these young kids, just the care factor, his natural love for the game, and then the care factor in which he takes care of himself.
Appreciate it, Coach. Good luck in Game 1.
Thank you, guys.
Darvin the head coach of the Lakers. Let's send it back to Kevin in the studio.
Testy, coach, greatly appreciate it. Darvin Lakers 8-4. They open up Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals on the road in Denver. They are 6.5-point underdogs. Up next, an NBA countdown. We will hear from Michael Malone, but more importantly, we go to Chicago to find out who will win the right to draft Victor Wembanyama of France. The Draft Lottery is next. You're listening to the NBA Playoffs on ESPN Radio.
As the Stanley Cup playoffs continue on ESPN, anything is possible. So the decorations could get a little out of hand. And a city could get a new landmark. Could a kraken arise? Could the storm surge? Could it happen for the first time? Could it happen again? Yeah, that could happen. That is playoff hockey. The Stanley Cup playoffs continue on ESPN.
Daily Wager Instant Analysis. Joe Fortenbaugh.
Western Conference Finals. The pick is the Nuggets, -155 over the Lakers. The key here, going to be home court advantage, where the Nuggets have been fantastic this season. 34 victories during the regular season, which is in the top 3 in the NBA, top 3 in net rating, and they've been outstanding at home in the playoffs. 6-0 straight up, 5-1 against the spread, winning those games by an average of 14 points per game. LA's been good, but I think they're a little overvalued off that win against the Warriors, who I think were overvalued off that win against Sacramento. Golden State only had one scoring option. Denver had several. I like them to win the series at a price of -155.
Wednesday, I'm Fitz and Harry. The Lakers need to win Game 1 to win the Western Conference Finals. We'll tell you if they did it.
Plus, I'll tell you why the Celtics will win the East.
We'll go on. Fitz and Harry Wednesday, noon Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Coming up Wednesday, we'll recap Game 1 of Lakers Nuggets. Get you ready for Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here. ESPN Radio, ESPN2, ESPNU.
And ESPN Radio Extra Point with Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max.
Who would another title mean more for, AD or LeBron?
LeBron James. AD is there because the LeBron James brain trust got him there. This has been a series of chess moves, and what you've been seeing this year is the same thing that you saw from D-Wade and LeBron when D-Wade was like, look, this is your squad. Like, I know it's my squad. I'm secure in myself. In these moments, in the biggest moments, I could take over a game. Watching D-Wade literally pass the torch to LeBron, and LeBron learn how to take it is what you're seeing LeBron do with AD right now. But it is set up for the biggest moments for LeBron to take over in the biggest moments. I think you saw that in Game 6. You'll continue to see that as we dig deeper into the playoffs in these critical moments. Not saying that AD can't have explosive like games, because AD is him, but it is built for these clutch moments for LeBron.
You can't miss Canty and Carlin, Pound for Pound, the biggest show on ESPN Radio.
Canty finds himself in a tough familial situation.
So my mom is getting ready to retire. One of the things she wants to do more of is run in marathons. That's one of the things that she's asking me to do with her is run a 5K with her. And you know my policy about running, big fella. I'm not going to do it unless there's a big check at the end of it. Now keep in mind, my mom is older. It's my mom.
It's your mom,
She's in her 70s.
Yeah.
And she's still doing this.
That's pretty damn impressive.
It's very impressive, but it's also embarrassing for me because I'm a former professional athlete, emphasis on the former part. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, running a 5K just for fun or even for charity is a non-starter. But could I do a 5K in under 40 minutes for $1 million? Probably not.
I don't know. I bet that you could.
I don't think I can. I'm 350 pounds now. When I was playing, I was like,
a lot of it is still muscle.
No, it is not. I'm not in shape right now. You know the shape I'm in? It's round.
Canty and Carlin, weekdays at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app. Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max.
What about that tone makes me believe that Julius Randle is one of the leaders of this team? Maybe they wanted more. You're damn right they wanted it more.
Wake up and get up with Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max.
Greg in Virginia, you're on KJM.
Y'all have an awesome show. Listen every morning. J. Will, got a love-hate relationship with you, man. 82 with you. I love you now.
GJ and Max, weekday morning starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2. This is the NBA on ESPN Radio. and on the ESPN app.
Kevin Richard with you inside our Granger studio, half hour away from tip-off in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. We're less than 5 minutes away from finding out the NBA draft lottery order. But the story over the weekend was Ja Morant being caught on Instagram brandishing a weapon for the second time in 3 months. It's still not known when the video was taken. Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, spoke with Ja Morant after his first incident and when he suspended him for 8 games. Adam Silver with Malika Andrews, their conversation began with Ja again.
What did you say to him about how much more severe it would be if he did this again?
We talked directly about the consequences first before we got to a subsequent potential to have done something wrong. We were very focused on the misconduct that was in front of us at the time. We spoke for a long time about not just the consequences that could have on his career, but the safety issues around it. Could have injured, maimed, killed himself, someone else with an act like that. And also the acknowledgement that, as you said, he's a star. I mean, he has an incredibly huge following. Yeah. And that my concern, and I thought he shared with me, that millions, if not tens of millions of kids globally would see him as having done something that was celebrating in a way. I at least was left with the sense that he was taking this incredibly seriously. So honestly, I was shocked when I saw this weekend that video. Now, we're in the process of investigating it. And we'll figure out exactly what happened to the best we can then. It's the video's a bit grainy and all that, but I'm assuming the worst, but we'll figure out, exactly what happened there.
One trend I wanted to hit on here, Adam, was that we've seen a coaching carousel in these last couple of weeks, most recently earlier today with Doc Rivers and the Philadelphia 76ers. What do you think that says about the state of the league, that we're seeing this high turnover, particularly of coaches who have recently been in the finals or won it all?
It's a brutal profession in many ways. That the rewards are fantastic, but this is high pressure position as virtually anyone in this league can be in on the front line. This is the nature of this league, and I think sometimes it's the chemistry. They don't go from being great coaches to bad coaches from one year to the next. It has to do with the chemistry with the team, style. Maybe it's somebody believes the players need to hear a new voice, but I'm incredibly sympathetic. I mean, again, it's a rough ass side of this business, and I think they understand it. They choose this profession, and they're my friends, and I hate to see it.
NBA Commissioner Adam Silver a short time ago with Malika Andrews, who was anchoring the coverage on ESPN television. Kevin Richard with you inside our studio. We're about to find out if the NBA draft lottery, and about to find out who gets the pick. Mark Tatum is at the podium in Chicago. Kevin Richard with you. We're waiting on some audio. The New Orleans Pelicans will pick 14th overall. That is, we stay on the same trend where we were. So New Orleans will pick 14th. The Toronto Raptors will pick 13. There were no changes yet. 14 is New Orleans. 13 is Toronto. 12 is the Oklahoma City Thunder. There were no changes there as well. So it's the Pelicans, the Raptors, the Thunder. Pick number 11 is Orlando. I believe the Magic have slipped massively. Pick number 10 goes to the Dallas Mavericks. So Dallas stays the same. Dallas keeps the pick. Remember, in the trade with New York for Jalen Brunson, here's Mark Tatum at the top 9.
Porzingis trade.
The 9th pick goes to the Utah Jazz. The 8th pick will be made by the Washington Wizards. The 7th pick in the NBA draft belongs to the Indiana Pacers. Pick number 6 goes to the Orlando Magic.
Everything going to form thus far. Only one envelope left before we know the teams in the top 4.
The 5th pick will be made by the Detroit Pistons.
Wow, Detroit.
All right, so there's the big shocker. I want to welcome in ESPN's Andre Snellings. Andre, there it is. Detroit is not in the top 4. The Pistons, Rockets, and Spurs had the best chance. Also, I said earlier, Orlando had fallen. They had not. They get Chicago's pick of where it is. But now it's the Rockets, the Spurs, the Hornets, and the Trailblazers who have the best shot. Where do you think Victor Wembanyama will fit best? And I know the answer was everywhere, but is there a team? Is there a team, Andre, that might be able to fit better for him right away?
So I have 2 thoughts on that. I mean, just as a Dame Lillard fan, and if Lillard's not leaving Portland, him getting Wembanyama for the second half of his career will be such an incredible gift and make them legitimate contenders in the relatively near future. So part of me would like to see that happen, just to see Dame time get to play on the big scale. But then on the flip side, I look at teams like the Rockets, especially, maybe the Hornets secondarily, that already has really young stars. And the Rockets in particular, they have, the top 2 or 3 pick out of the last couple of drafts. So you put Wembanyama with that young nucleus, you could see a team that's, goes from the basement to the penthouse in a matter of a couple of years.
I was going to say, you got an opportunity to, and everyone talks about Damian potentially leaving or that you're not going to be able to win, but you get, how much have you seen Victor? Everyone, what impresses me is NBA players now are gushing over him, and he's 19. What can he do for a franchise?
He could turn it around. I just got done watching Woj say that Victor Wembanyama is not just the best prospect in NBA history, that he's arguably the greatest prospect of any sport, any team sport in American history. Like, that type of hype, if he lives up to it in any way, the way that we saw LeBron do, you're looking at a guy that in a few years will be making his own case to be in basketball Mount Rushmore. Like, that's his upside. So, you mentioned kind of seeing him play. I'm old, or at least I'm older than a lot of our listeners. So the first person I kind of think of when I see him play is a guy named Ralph Sampson from like back in the day. He was the number 1 overall pick the year before Jordan, and his career got cut short by injuries, but he had that kind of 7'4", can make a jump shot, could have been all around offensive, defensive game like Wembanyama. The difference is Wembanyama has that kind of skill set, but he also seems to be really athletic and coordinated for that length. And so it's like Ralph Sampson and Kevin Durant had a baby. I mean, I don't know how it's just kind of a freak thing. And I think that's why everybody's so excited.
I love the Ralph Sampson reference in comparison. I think that is exceptionally apt. Everyone, you need to go look him up on YouTube. The Rockets, the Spurs, the Hornets, and the Trailblazers. Detroit has fallen in the chance to draft Victor Wembanyama. This is it, right? I mean, no one's going for anything else, correct? This is you're grabbing Victor.
Oh yeah. Okay. The number 1 pick will be Victor Wembanyama.
Okay.
Now there's other like really good prospects in this draft, but it's Wembanyama or bust.
All right, so here it is. Mark Tatum, NBA Deputy Commissioner, going to be at the podium in Chicago. Andre, you're going to stick around with me because we're going to find out who gets the number 1 draft pick and the right to select Victor Wembanyama. Again, the Detroit Pistons have fallen down to the 5th spot. Everything went according to plan until the last card that was drawn by NBA Deputy Commissioner Mark Tatum. So again, it's the Rockets, the Spurs, who along with Detroit had the best shot, the Hornets, and now the Portland Trailblazers. And yes, I'm with you, Andre. I think the idea and the prospects that Damian Lillard could get that second guy are fascinating, are absolutely fascinating, especially in an already loaded Western Conference. That to me is just incredible. Victor Wembanyama is in Paris, France. ESPN's Brian Windhorst is there. 7-3 is Victor Wembanyama. Our player resume brought to you by Indeed. Need to hire? You need Indeed.com/credit. So it's the Rockets, the Spurs, the Hornets, and the Blazers. I do think as well, Andre, and I'm not sure you'll have time to answer because we're going to go back to Mark, but if the Spurs get it, that's like, Tim Duncan reincarnated. So Rockets, Spurs, Hornets, or Blazers. Who gets the number one pick? Deputy Commissioner Mark Tatum at the top four.
Operating Officer Mark Tatum.
Thanks again, Malika. The fourth pick in the NBA draft goes to the Houston Rockets. The third pick belongs to the Portland Trailblazers. The second pick will be made by the Charlotte Hornets. And that means that the number one pick in the 2023 NBA draft goes to the San Antonio Spurs.
NBA Deputy Commissioner Mark Tatum. Andre Snelling's, I'm a prophet, aren't I? I'm a prophet.
You called it. You called it with the last second. You hit it at the buzzer, the half quarter.
Wow. David Robinson, Tim Duncan, and now Victor Wembanyama. Hey, what do you think this does for Greg Popovich in his coaching career?
It's like a shot of life. I've been feeling bad for Poppy last few years because he's such a great coach, and he's been a Hall of Fame coach. And then he goes from championship contending for 2 solid decades to going through a rebuild. And I was kind of surprised that he stuck around to rebuild. And I think that kind of speaks to who he is as a teacher. And so now he gets to, in the twilight of his career, work with the most hyped prospect that we've ever seen, even more hyped than Duncan and Robinson were. I'm very happy for Pop and the Spurs organization.
All right, so the San Antonio Spurs have won the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes. San Antonio, Charlotte, Portland, and Houston. Those are your top 4 picks in the upcoming NBA draft. And a reminder, we'll have the draft here on ESPN Radio coming up in June. Andre, while we have you, what do you make of Doc Rivers being fired today by the Philadelphia 76ers and just the amount of coaches who've there's some really good coaches on the sidelines from really good teams.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the takeaway. I was sad to see Doc get fired because I like him as a coach, and I like what he seems to stand for as a person. But the writing was also on the wall. I was on the air talking about it all day yesterday. There were questions about the way certain things were handled in that Game 7. Why did he never attempt to take the ball out of Jason Tatum's hands and just let him go for 51? Why was the 76ers offense so kind of stagnant? There was no action. It was just a lot of one-on-one. They're 1-on-3 because the defense was stacked against them, and it didn't seem like adjustments were made. And, his history of Game 7s. But I think more so than anything else, like you just alluded to, it speaks to the climate, the way that so many great coaches, if you haven't won the championship, you have to say this season, because every championship coach of the last 5 years, except Steve Kerr, has been fired. And so under that lens, Doc being fired can't be considered a shock. But, it's always disappointing, when you see a great coach have to get let go.
Andre Snelling's at Professor Dr. Z on Twitter. Great stuff, buddy. We'll look forward to your report and your writing because you're doing a story for ESPN.com on Victor Wembanyama. And now it's all likelihood that he's going to be headed to the San Antonio Spurs given tonight's draft lottery. Thanks, buddy. I'll talk to you soon. All right, ESPN's Andre Snelling joining me here on NBA Countdown on ESPN Radio. Kevin Winter with you. We're inside our Granger studios. Hey, every day there are drivers on the road who decide not to buckle their seatbelts. Some of those drivers will be ticketed by law enforcement. Some of those drivers who crash won't make it home. Buckling up is the single most effective way to protect your life in the event of a crash and make it home safely to your loved ones. Don't risk it. Click it or ticket. Paid for by NHTSA. NHTSA. Pronounced NHTSA.
You hear them boo birds in Phoenix? Nuggets lead it by 30 at halftime. Let's go!
You just got to watch the Denver Nuggets play basketball. I think it's pretty simple.
And for the 5th time in franchise history, the Denver Nuggets go to the Western Conference Finals.
They are back. They get the Lakers. Game 1 approaching. ESPN's Jay Williams with his keys to the game.
Denver has no rim protection. Similar strategy that you had to the Golden State Warriors. It is open off a ton of ball screen action. I would get Jokic in as much multiple screen action as possible throughout possessions. I'm going to make him work defensively. I'm going to get his legs tired. And one of the things a lot of people don't give Jokic credit for is his endurance. His conditioning is off the charts. He can play through a lot of stuff, even if you do make him work defensively. But I think the more you can bring him away from the basket is the more that lends to the bread and the butter of what the Lakers do. They dominate you with points in the paint. They dominate you with free throw disparity. The question is, who is going to be that matchup for Jokic? I think you might see Rui on Jokic. I think you might see doses of LeBron James guard Jokic because you need to have AD come from the weak side. AD will get his doses too. But if you have AD come from the weak side, the block shots, obviously you control the paint. If you control the paint, that's your best way to beat Denver. That's on the Lakers side. On Denver's side, I think Jokic has to initiate the offense. I think Jokic has to take advantage of all the moves he has on the block. I think Aaron Gordon is a guy in that LeBron James matchup. He needs to use that size, that strength, that physicality to keep LeBron James away from punishing them on the block, to limit him to settle for jump shots. You get LeBron James and AD settling for jump shots, that is a win for Denver. And then I'll say this, pick and roll. We saw Steph try to do it with AD. Jamal Murray, that's going to be a high dosage because if I see Dennis Schroeder on me, I am posting his little ass up. And if I see a bigger guard on me, try to defend me like a Vanderbilt, it's like Austin Reeves. If I see that, then I'm going to get them involved in a lot more pick and roll. I saw Steph work off that. If you want to switch to AD, I think Jamal Murray is one of the most lethal players we have left in the playoffs. I think he is the edge and the personality of this team. He has to get going against the size and the strength of the Lakers defenders on the perimeter.
Language is changing around here. I guess we are ready for Pat McAfee. Jay Williams with the storylines and his keys to the Nuggets and the Lakers. We've heard from Darvin Ham. What about Michael Malone? A short time ago, he spoke with Marquez Asher, PJ Colissimo.
Kevin, thank you very much. Well, Michael, I know it's only halfway to where you want to get to, but what does it mean for you, the city, the fans, to be one of just 4 teams remaining for a championship?
Well, yeah, it's obviously our goal to start the year is not just to make the Western Conference Finals, it's to win a championship. That remains our goal. But I think you have to also enjoy the journey. And the last time we made it to Western Conference Finals, Mark, we were in the bubble. So we didn't get a chance to really feel our fans and the city getting behind us. So to be home right now, to have, in my opinion, the best fans in the world that make Ball Arena the toughest place to play is has just been a great opportunity for myself, our staff, and the players. But we know we have a hell of a challenge in front of us with the Lakers, and I think all the guys are really excited to get this series started tonight.
Michael, all the times for game 1, you try and look at all the regular season, although in this case, it's almost a waste of time. And usually after the first game, it goes out the window anyhow. But still, these guys do a really good job not fouling. They do a really good job getting you to free throw line. By your standards, I think you were 4th in the league in the regular season. Your fouls are up a little bit. How much of a concern against these guys, personal fouls or controlling that?
That's one of the, we talked about transition being like a real big key, keeping them out of transition, coach, keeping them out of our paint, their second paint points in the playoffs. And the third thing we've really been stressing is defending without fouling. Game 6 against the Warriors, they went there 42 times. And the reason it's so important for us is they're the #1 defense in the playoffs. If we put them on the foul line, they get to set their defense, and now we're not getting out and scoring easy baskets and attacking in transition ourselves. So have to be really disciplined with LeBron and AD, but Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, those guys are artists in terms of snapping their head back, swinging their arms through, and drawing those fouls. So discipline will play a big part in that.
You see him all the time. Our listeners don't get a chance to hear as much about him. Nikola just finished a series where he averaged a triple-double. Give us a short version of our listeners, like what they're in for, just how magnificent a player he is.
Well, for a coach, you can't ask for a better player because he's not only a great player, he's a great teammate, and he makes everyone better. And I learned a long time ago from my father, as the defense tells you what to do, he never forces the issue. Phoenix wanted to play him one-on-one, he went to work. we'll see what happens tonight. Are the Lakers going to play him one-on-one? Are they going to double team him? Probably a mixed bag. And Nicole is going to make the right read time and time again. But truly a selfless superstar, and very, very fortunate to have him on our team.
That's part about game one. Good luck, Coach. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, guys.
It's Michael Malone, the head coach of the Nuggets, before game one of the conference finals. Back to Kevin Winter in the studio.
Testy PJ, Coach. Greatly appreciate it. No place like home for Michael Malone's Denver Nuggets. Brought to you by Angie. With Angie, it's easier than ever to get home projects done well. Get started on the Angie app or go to Angie.com. Denver 6-0 at home this postseason. They host game one of the Western Conference Finals. Tip-off, Lakers and Nuggets is next. This is the NBA playoffs on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.